What's up, everyone? It's your boy Norn Rad89 here, bringing you another video. And today we are going to be beginning my Bond review series. So we're going to be going over some James Bond films this month. I picked 5 random James Bond films, basically just out of a hat, just randomly. And they're going to be ones I'm going to be covering over this month and stuff like that. This is typically November, the time when I get my Bond fix. I'm still watching like horror films, of course, and then I get into my Christmas horror stuff, so we'll be having some videos on that as well. But like I said, November, I typically do get my James Bond like itch, and I'm like, I gotta scratch it, so I watch some James Bond movies. And today we're going to be talking about actually my personal favorite, and it's Skyfall from 2012, directed by Sam Mendes. Man, this was a great achievement in cinema, and today we're going to talk about my love for this film, and of course, spoilers and everything. This film's from 2012, so I highly recommend going to check it out. If you want to check it out right now, it's currently streaming on Netflix. So let's get into this video. Roll it. So the 2012 film Skyfall was Daniel Craig's third outing as the character James Bond. And in terms of the Daniel Craig era, he is my second favorite James Bond. Sean Connery is my favorite. Daniel Craig is a very close second. And Skyfall, for what this one did for me, I actually saw this in theaters twice. That's how amazing and how much I had fun with this film. It was also the first film I took one of my close friends, Javier. I took him to go see this film, and he'd never seen a James Bond movie before, so it was his first experience. So I always have that memory of taking him to see his first James Bond movie, and it being Skyfall. And what I really love about this film, my main thing, is probably the score and the writing. The writing just is so good and so rich, and I find that the dialogue between the characters, it's like that witty repartee type, dialogue, but I get it. I laugh, not like uncontrollably laugh, but I chuckle. I soft laugh. I'm emotional when it's emotional moments. And I think those impactful kind of like, they're tossing shade at each other scenes, kind of politely. Like British people, they know how to really diss people, but in the most polite manner. And another thing, like I said, the score really assists this film. And one example is when James Bond is fighting the man. This is going into our third act, when James Bond is fighting the man under the ice in the pond, and they're sinking in the water. That whole scene, the score really assists in every shot, every move they're taking under the water. Even when the guy's neck breaks, the camera's silent and you're underwater, so you can't hear the guy's neck break, but the scene, the score, the music is giving you all those little hints and moments and stuff in between. And then when they're battle, it's like you're listening to it. It's like you could totally not be watching this film, and you can hear through the music what's happening on screen. That's what I mean. I love that aspect of this movie. Another great thing is our intro song. I find Adele's intro song, Skyfall, it's in my top 10 Bond songs. Like, I really do enjoy this song for real. So Adele's like style just fit this tone of this movie. And when I listen to the Skyfall song, like I said, it really does fit the vibe of this film and all that. So for me, this is one that, as it's going on, as the beginning starts and we get our intro scene when James Bond is fighting the guy on top of the train, which, by the way, I'm a sucker for train fights. They just look so cool, man. Like when you're on top of a train and like dudes are duking it out, or you're having a shootout on top of a train, it's very exciting. So like those kind of moments I really love about this film. And then, Monty Penny on the field too. So that's another cool thing. We actually get to see Monty Penny in action in this film. And we don't know that at the beginning of the movie. Like at first, we don't know it's Eve Monty Penny. We just know it's an agent, a field agent that's helping James Bond trying to capture this guy and get a list of names of British operatives that he has. And he wants to, sell it to the highest bidder and release the names and stuff. So that whole intro scene, just right from the beginning, grabs me. And then we lead into, like I said, Adele's song. So it's just such a potent movie. Then one thing I could say about this film is, another thing I love is it's a very personal film. And I think that's what people really don't like about the Daniel Craig era, is they like their more James Bond films to be, it's James Bond. He's going out to do one mission. You don't really learn too much about James. There's not a lot of character development, but it's more him going out to do this mission to save the world, meeting some really hot ladies and some cool, awesome cars along the way that he gets to drive, some gadgets. but there's not a lot of character development when it comes to the Sean Connery era or the Roger Moore era or even the Pierce Brosnan era. We do learn some more things about James Bond and backstory stuff, but I think Daniel Craig is the one where they decided to do these films with him, and they really wanted to give James Bond an arc throughout these movies. So to really enjoy him, you have to watch Casino Royale all the way to No Time to Die to really get the full effect of Daniel Craig's era and the vibe of it. So that's one thing where I could say people probably don't like these ones, is because they're used to going in and just having it be a moment in time. The James Bond movies are usually a moment in time. And these ones are not like that. The Daniel Craig ones are, like I said, you have to get the full effect, so you have to watch them all to really get the completion arc of James Bond and all the characters that associate with him throughout the films. Another thing, like I said, I just love another amazing thing about this movie is the cast around Daniel Craig. You know, of course, Judi Dench is a fabulous. Naomi Harris as Monty Penny. We have Rory Kinnear as Tanner. So, like, there's just a great cast overall. Then we have the great Javier Bardem as Mr. Silva, and easily one of my favorite Bond villains. But a negative for him is he's not really like a James Bond villain. He's not a villain to James. He's more a villain to Judi Dench's character. Like, he really is after her. That's his main goal. And that's one thing, is this film is much more a personal film. It's not like world stakes, you know what I mean? But there is bad stuff going on because, like, they released the names of those undercover British agents. So there are British agents getting captured and assassinated because of what Javier Bardem's people did, Mr. Silva. So it still has stakes and there's still things going on, but that's kind of a back burner side thing. So that's one, I wouldn't say negative, but a mixed thing. I can see also read that why people might not like this film as much is because if you're a Bond fan, you're used to typically the world ending, like someone trying to take over the television stations to, you know, influence the world or get nuclear holocausts going or steal all the gold from Fort Knox. Like, you're used to all these big plots, and Mr. Silva's is a very down, close, personal plot. But I appreciate it because we learn things about James Bond in here and M and their connection. And I think Daniel Craig, in terms of their connection with Judi Dench, their chemistry on screen, I think, is really good. And then when you meet Javier Bardem's character, and he has that moment when he meets Judi Dench for the first time again after, you know, she gave him up and he was like in prison and then had to escape and he almost died and all this stuff. So it's like that tension, that moment. You could even see the chemistry between them, as like one day or one point in her life, she did use him as an agent and they probably had that connection like her and Bond do, you know what I mean? Like, that you can really see that. And I like how there's subtle nuances throughout this entire film that really show you there's connective tissue and the relationships matter and there's weight and gravitas to these characters. And I like that, like I said. So for me, the whole making it more personal and kind of making it a smaller scale type villain story really did hit hard. For another thing is we get to meet our first Q, or like James Bond, Daniel Craig gets his first Q in this film, you know, and we get his first kind of gadgets. And I know they're kind of small time gadgets. That's one thing too, is Daniel Craig doesn't get a lot of gadgets. He's more the rough, rugged, physical type James Bond, but he gets that cool gun that reacts to his palm print, so only he can shoot it, which that payoff moment is great when he's fighting that dude in the pit with the Komodo dragon, and like the guy tries to use the gun, and James Bond just looks at him, he's like, good luck with that. Like, I love that part. And then a radio, a little tiny radio, you know, for help. Like, so it's just very simple gadgets, and I like how Q just gives him this, and like James Bond's like, for real? The Q branch, like, this is all I get? Like, this is the tech that you guys got for me? So there's subtle jokes and little hints. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I laugh at this film when there's those subtle jokes. I'm emotional when it's those emotional moments and they're having those payoff moments. And when it's tense, I feel the tension. I feel like goosebumps around me and I'm on the edge of my seat. So yeah, Skyfall is easily for me my number one favorite James Bond film because of all those reasons. Like, even though there's some side little mixed negative things, but for me, those are things in personal taste that I love. Like I said, dumbing down the story to a more personal villain take, that's great for me. Having James Bond have more of a character arc throughout the film and seeing the chemistry he has with the characters and the influence. And also, you know, I know some people, like, they don't like Craig because, like he said, he's more physical. But I like the fact that he actually gets hurt in his films and stuff happens to him, and you could kind of see the damage going on, that it takes a toll on your body when you're being James Bond and doing all these things. So this era is just such a potent, amazing era for me. So like I said, Daniel Craig's era, my second favorite in terms of the James Bond actors. And Skyfall, just, it hit hard for me. That's why I saw this in theaters twice. Every time I watch it when I'm at home, like I said, I still get goosebumps. I still feel every moment. I love the dialogue, the scenes. It's just 2 hours and it's like 2 hours and 53 minutes. So it's an almost 3 hour minute movie that just goes smoothly for me. It just goes so smooth and it just flows. At no point do I want to pick up my phone or look at the watch or check the time or anything like that. This is one of those movies that just grabs me, it has me, and I'm captivated all the way through to the end. But these are just my thoughts and my opinions on Skyfall, and I would love to hear from all of you in the comments section. Share your thoughts on this film. Are you a lover of Skyfall? Do you like the Daniel Craig era of James Bond? Like I said, doesn't matter if you don't, because I would love to hear from all of you, because we're all different. That's the best thing about us. And make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned to the channel, because like I said, for November, I'm going to be having some other Bond reviews as well. Maybe I might actually have a special guest tagging along with me for some of those reviews. Have a safe and happy day, everyone. Peace out.